Welcome back to another Mayor's Hour. This is going to be a good one. We're going to be outdoors, Jack. We're going to be talking about one of my favorite things, and that's the Hillsborough River and how important that Hillsborough River is to this community.
Yeah, and what a spectacular day, first of all. I mean, you got to look at this, and you know why people are dying to get down here to the Tampa Bay area for the weather, first of all, and then I think they enjoy everything else. But this is such a spectacular natural resource, such a spectacular asset for the city of Tampa in so many ways. I mean, obviously providing water, that's the big thing, but beyond that, it's such a beautiful thing that people aren't even aware of, that most people aren't really aware of, and unless they use it, unless they've become familiar with it and gotten to know it.
Well, what's interesting is, I mean, everyone knows the river downtown because we travel over it on the bridges. We go down to Curtis Dixon Park. You know, the city is spending a lot of time and some resources to make that waterfront the center of our downtown. But when you come upriver, where we are here at the Hillsborough River Dam, where our water plant is, it is amazing how big this river is, how active it is, and how healthy it is.
And how historic it is, too. I mean, there's a lot of rich history associated with this dam, with this area, with this river, and it's just amazing to see it. And most people don't get a chance to do it unless they live along it or go out kayaking or canoeing or boating on it.
Well, we're going to meet some folks today who are very passionate about the river. We're going to talk to Brad Baird, who runs the City of Tampa's water department. He's the guy that runs the water plant out here. He's going to tell us about the history of this and what that plant does. We're going to talk to Phil Compton from Friends of the Hillsborough River, an advocate who's passionate about protecting and defending the waterfront. And we're going to get out on a boat and have a great day. So stay with us. We got our water wings. We're going to see if we can survive this. There's a few gators out there. There's a bunch of big snook out there for you fishermen, but I'm not telling you where it is. So stay with us. It's going to be a great show. Yeah, you're making me proud. That's a good thing. All right. Let's fight to the death, all right? All right. 2, 3. Wow. Rapids will fully inflate and you're ready to enter the water. Jack, we're back with one of the guys that makes things happen in the city government. Someone who's been with the city for how many years, Brad?
Almost 31.
31 years. There's no drop for you.
No.
You're sticking around for a while. Brad has moved up through the ranks and is now the administrator of the water department. Big job. Big job. And part of his job involves this river and the water plant that is right over there on the other side. Tell us a little bit about where we are, and the history of this dam is unbelievable. We're standing right now on top of the dam. You're going to get to see some shots of this, but tell us the history of this, Brad.
All right. This is the Hillsborough River Dam, and it was built in 1897.
1897
for the purpose of producing electricity out of a power plant.
Hydroelectric
power just downstream of the dam. And
people aren't even aware that we were using electricity at that point. I mean, that's amazing that we were so far ahead in a place in the wilderness here practically then.
It was primarily for the streetcars. So that streetcars could run throughout Tampa. As you know, in the early 1900s, there was quite a network.
That one out.
Yes, indeed. We gave them up. We gave them up.
So, but then in 1897, it was completed, and it was owned at that time by Consumers Electric. That was TECO's predecessor. And then a year later, the cattlemen blew it up, because they didn't like the fact that the water was encroaching on all their pasture land.
So all of this land behind here used to be pasture land.
Correct.
And so these guys literally blew the dam up.
They blew the dam up. They distracted the dam tender and put dynamite on the wall, and then the water washed away the north embankment. But then the dam was rebuilt and lasted. Now it's used for water supply purposes. So
Now, when was this one built, the one that we're currently on?
Well, parts of the original dam are still part of this dam. But in 1933, we had a catastrophic storm that washed away the south embankment. So from about where you're standing all the way to the south end of the dam was completely washed away.
Because of the rainfall?
Because of the rainfall. We had over 10 billion gallons a day going over the dam. So, at that point, it wasn't rebuilt. TECO decided it's not cost effective to produce power because we don't have enough height or elevation here. So they decided not to rebuild it. So they sold it, what was left of it, to the city for $1. And then we didn't rebuild it until during the war in 1944.
That was Greco's first term.
But so it was rebuilt using older gentlemen, as the young guys were at war. And so that's most of what you see here today. It was rebuilt in 1944.
Was this a civilian conservation corps project, or did we just hire folks that were too old to go to war?
We hired folks that were too old to go to war. We got a grant from the Secretary of War.
Wow.
So that's how important this was considered to be for this area. And without this dam, Tampa wouldn't be able to grow to what it is today.
Well, to furnish the water and obviously and to control it as well, because we don't have floods on the Hillsborough River thanks to this dam, I guess, unlike Alafai and a few of those others down through the state.
That's correct. Thanks to the dam and operations of the dam and the bypass canal.
Yeah.
What shunted water around Tampa and around Temple Terrace.
So tell us what this dam does. Tell us what we're standing on here, how it functions.
It holds back water and creates a reservoir.
So you remember the plan a few years ago to expand the reservoir?
Yes.
That didn't go over so well.
No.
I remember that. I lived through those days. That was a non-starter.
That was not under my
No, it was not.
term.
It was a previous director, for whom the plan is named after.
Yeah, that was that was rough times for Mr. Tippin. But,
I remember that.
But anyway, in lieu of that, we store water underground now, in addition to the reservoir. So we have 1 billion gallons we store underground, and this reservoir.
Now, where's that? At the Tippin plant?
In this area,
Yeah.
underground.
I guess there are caverns beneath this that they inject the water down into. Literally, it's a natural storage area.
And then can
And be
extract it.
recovered when you need it in the dry season.
Yeah, that's amazing. That and just seeing this dam, that they at one point you could get hydroelectric power from here anyway. Having seen other hydroelectric power dams, which are all much higher, much larger. You can't even imagine getting much power out of here. But I guess back in those days, that was all you needed.
That's all you needed, and it was cost effective back then. But and actually, we've looked at it since. If could we produce electricity cost effectively here since we already have the dam? The answer was no.
So what happens during the droughts?
During a drought, we have no flow over the dam. And so as a result, we've worked with Friends of the River. We've worked with the Southwest Florida Water Management District to implement what's called the minimum flow for the lower Hillsborough River. And so you'll see we've started up the minimum flows, and they'll run through the end of May or beginning of June when the rains start.
How many customers do you serve with the water here, the water that you control here?
We serve over 500,000 people, about 580,000 people every day using this water. And interestingly, when we moved to this site in the 1920s and built the plant on the reservoir in 1925 and finished it in 1926. And before that, we got our water from north of downtown from some wells in the area of the Waterworks building. But those wells, the quality started to decline. And so they launched a very intensive study to find out where can we supply water for the next 100 years. And that's how they selected the site.
You'd never have any growth if you had to depend on those wells. I mean, this river really is a lifeblood of Tampa and Tampa Bay area.
It really is.
And that waterworks building that he talked about, that's
Yeah.
where Richard's restaurant will be.
Right, the restaurant, and of course the river walk going down through there, and most people aren't even aware of the little park.
Yeah, we've
which
dug
is
the
right
spring
behind
out.
that.
Spring is now bubbling, crystal clear. Hopefully, he's going to be able to take that spring water and make his own craft beer out of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Now that'll be a nice, nice little addition to it, to say the least.
So during the summer season, the water is just flowing out of this dam, right?
Yeah, I mean, during last summer, it was over 1 billion gallons going over the dam, and it's loud.
A day?
A day.
Holy smokes.
So we wouldn't be doing this interview here. It's loud. It's really loud. But so now when we have no flows, and that started in about the 60s. But then in earnest in the 70s, we started having a lot of days with no flow. And so that's, fast forward to today, and we are implementing 4 different water sources and bringing them to one place downstream of the dam. It's the flume that is behind us, takes all the 4 sources of water and puts it, makes it for the lower Hillsborough River.
So that's the flume?
That's the flume.
And the water is being pumped from 4 different places, including the reservoir right behind us, to produce that water.
Well, it's 4 different places, and one is Sulphur Springs,
Right.
and that's the water you see now.
Which is far below, south, yeah.
Far below,
So
miles
we're pumping
away.
it all the way back up the river to make sure that the upper Hillsborough River is healthy.
Correct.
There we go.
And then we are going to add 3 more sources, the Blue Sink, and Morris Bridge Sink, and then the Tampa Bypass Canal, which isn't flowing this morning, but we take it from the lower pool of the bypass canal, so this is many miles away, pump it to the middle pool, and then again to the reservoir, and then pump it over the reservoir.
Now, is this sulfurous water or sulfurous water that comes from the spring?
Yeah, well, Sulphur Springs has a little bit of sulfur in it, and it's a little salty as well, so that's why we need other freshwater sources to go with it, mix with it.
Yeah, and because, I mean, that's a constant, quite a constant flow there, and I guess it's aerated as well as it comes down through there, which water needs to have aeration, I guess, to be able to use it or to purify it.
Yeah, no, it has, because of the way that's designed, and you can see the flume is designed to stir it up and add oxygen to the water.
Now that big gator that's right down there, is
been
he
there
a
a
city
long time.
employee?
He's not on the payroll, but he's been there a long time.
Now what does he do during the summer season when the water's coming out of the dam? Does he just move to the banks or something?
Yeah, he hides over there on the bank.
How big is he?
On
Has
the
anybody
south.
gotten close enough to measure him?
I think he's 12, 13 feet. He's good size.
Yeah, do not feed him. Do not feed
No,
him.
you don't want to feed the gators.
We have more gators than that show up around too.
Yeah, I've heard that they're all around this area here. That
Well, I tell you, with the minimum flow project, you can see the river literally coming back to life. I mean, it's exciting to see. The aquatic life will come up and spawn. For example, sardines provide food for Tampa Bay. So this is really what I call a mini estuary, creating life in Tampa Bay.
Well, I know Phil Compton, who we're going to hear from, is going to be excited about that.
Yeah. Oh,
I didn't
yeah.
know
Well,
sardines. We've got sardines out here. I did
Absolutely.
not know
Actually, you
that.
can see some right today if you go walk up a little bit.
And is that what attracts the snook and the other game fish?
Yeah.
Wow, that attracts me at a party table. I like sardines.
Well, that will make sure that no one talks to you, Jack, because they're a little,
Gamey.
yeah.
They're better for the snook.
Well,
Yeah, they
on
are.
crackers, if you
yes.
treat them right, they're okay.
You can tell you're an old military guy because I'm sure your mom sent you cans of sardines when you were away. My mom used to send me sardines in college, and it would stink up the entire fraternity
yes,
house.
they do that.
Yeah. All right, Brad. Well, thanks. Keep
All
up the
right,
good
thank
work
you.
out here. This is important stuff. The water that you drink comes from this river here, and this is the guy that takes care of it. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
These are electric boats, 100% electric, which from a boating perspective, the benefits that we really liked in them are they're 100% quiet. There's no engine noise, no vibration. They're environmentally friendly, so there's no gasoline, there's no oil to mess with. So E-Boat stands for the electric boats. Of our 3 boats right now, they're all almost identical. They're 21-foot boats. We kind of lovingly refer to them as golf carts on the water. We charge them overnight and we get a full day's work out of them. So we'll charge them overnight. They'll run from 9 a.m. till about 10 o'clock at night on a full day for us. We stock the boats with a cooler loaded with ice for folks so guests can bring their own food or drinks. They're set up with a nice little table and a comfortable couch-like seating area. So, you know, as we kind of describe it, it's sort of like being on a golf cart on the water, but with the comfort of your couch and the view of this downtown skyline. We literally started this with 1 boat. Within the next 2 weeks, we had added the 2nd boat. We really had a plan that would have probably had some slower growth, but we had to add that 3rd boat just because the market needed it. Here in Tampa, as soon as the weather drops, the phones start ringing. And you feel it, the energy down here too. For the next 7 or 8 months, it's gorgeous all the time. I spent 7 years in the U.S. Virgin Islands running sailing charter businesses. So as a kid growing up in Florida, I've always enjoyed getting people on the water and helping them experience being out on the water. And with downtown Tampa having this amazing asset in our waterfront, certainly at the least was underutilized, underappreciated over the years. I've spent the last 8 years here in downtown Tampa commercial real estate. A big effort of that real estate business is trying to help the revitalization and bring energy into downtown Tampa. This was just a way that was something that we felt strongly about, that really brought energy, activity, and people right down onto the waterfront to see how gorgeous this city is. And that's the #1 thing we hear from guests that get off these boats every day. They come off the boats and go, wow, we had no idea how gorgeous it was out here. Right around the corner out here, you're off of Bay Shore. You've got beautiful open water out there, MacDill Air Force Base. But right here in the bay on a daily basis, there's birds out here now, but dolphin come right up in here. We'll see big tarpons swimming through. We see rays all the time. So there's a lot more life and a lot more kind of energy and activity down here than people either realize or give it credit for. This is just a really easy way for people to pop on a boat, 1, 2, 3 hours, bring a group of friends, bring your food, bring your drinks, and get out and enjoy it. A lot of our guests are even, some people that I know that have boats. They've got their big boats, but those take work, they take money, they take cleanup afterwards. This is just a real easy way for people to pop out and get on the water. As a matter of fact, maybe that's what the E really stood for, is that they're just that easy.
Each day we offer boats available from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. down here at our wonderful waterfront location on the Tampa Riverwalk between the Marriott Waterside and the Tampa Convention Center, right next to this beautiful bar, the Sail Pavilion. And we go over the map, we go over where they're located now. Maps are on the boats with them, so they know exactly where to go. We do a loop with them in the boat to make sure they're comfortable with the controls and all the safety equipment on the boats. And they are really very easy to use. And normally after just a few seconds behind the wheel, they're completely at ease. And it's just a perfect little getaway right here in downtown. It's the perfect way to show folks downtown, and it's the most beautiful way to see the city for sure.
Well, I actually live downtown in Tampa. I live on Harbor Island, which is literally walking distance right over here. The Sail Pavilion behind me is one of my favorite places to go for a drink and bring my dog. I've seen the E-boats out and about every single time we come to the Sail Pavilion. A load of people are taking them out on the river, and I just thought, gosh, I gotta try that. And once I realized that you didn't have to have a boating license to actually operate one, I said, I'm in, let's do this. So I got my group of friends together and we got on the boat and took off for a little adventure. It's like driving a golf cart. It's so simple, it's so easy. It's got a little bit of power to it, but not too fast where you feel like you're going out of control. It was easy to back in. They assisted us when we came back to pull into the docks. It was very, very simple. I've also rented e-boats through Visit Tampa Bay, the company that I work for. We've rented them for media, as well as we've rented them for convention sales staff. It's a really great opportunity to showcase our destination through possible conventions that we're looking to bring into Tampa Bay, as well as media. It gives media this very unique opportunity to see downtown Tampa in a completely different way. When you're from the water and you're looking from the water onto the Museum of Art or any of the lighted bridges, it gives a whole different perspective of downtown Tampa that a lot of people don't usually see. hopping on one of these e-boats is so unique. It's a beautiful and amazing experience that you wouldn't experience if you were walking through downtown.
Jack, you couldn't ask for a better day.
Oh, this is spectacular. What a day.
Yeah.
I was in charge of this.
I know you were.
The weather.
You know, the mayor usually gets blamed for the bad weather, but I'd give the accolades to you on this one.
Thank you. I'll take it.
You know, we that video we just shot from the e-boat really is a great phenomenon. People who, I always recommend to folks that if they have family in town from out of town, to get one of those e-boats and go up the Hillsborough River and see some pretty amazing things.
This is, and most people aren't familiar with the river at all. Yeah. It's amazing when you see the things we've already seen and more of what we're about to see. Yeah. It's incredible.
It is indeed. It's not just a river that runs through downtown. It's a river that runs through our community. And this gentleman we're about to talk to, Mark Metcalf, is going to tell us a little bit about how this all works. Mark is a production technician here at the water plant. He is also the son of one of our favorite longtime city employees.
Ralph Metcalf.
His dad, Ralph Metcalf.
The legend.
The legend indeed. Yeah. So your dad used to wear Hawaiian shirts to work every day. What happened?
I have to wait a couple more years.
To fit in them?
Well, Brad won't let me wear Hawaiian shirts yet up here at the plant. I was trying to get the uniform changed.
All right, not going to work.
Not yet, anyway.
So tell me what a production technician does.
Basically, we take the water out of the river and monitor it as it goes through the different phases in the plant, and the purification, get all the dirt and the stuff that comes out of the river and makes it quality enough for the city of Tampa's drinking water.
And how many of you are there?
A given time, there's at least 5 or 6 of us probably that are at the plant. There's 30-something total operators. Wow. And we're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
And tell us about that boat. That's a very special boat because on the surface it looks like, hey, this looks like a fun boat to go ride in.
Yeah, that's just our regular, it looks like a regular just party barge, but it's actually got probably a 600-gallon tank in it that holds all our copper sulfate for when we have to spray it for the river for treating the little anabina cells that basically give you taste and odor problems.
Huh. Now, what's an anabina cell?
It's a little microorganism that grows in the river during the spring and the summertime.
Naturally occurring?
Yeah, it's just it happens when stagnant water gets a little bit warmer, and they hang around until the river level gets high enough where it goes over the dam, and then you can flush the water out and they go away.
But you spray this stuff, and does that eventually just dissolve into the drinking water or what?
It just dissolves right away, but it's made to actually grab the cells and pull them to the bottom because they only live in about the first top 2 feet of the sunlight, and once they get out of the sunlight, they just go away.
People aren't familiar with that kind of thing. I've never even heard of that until we were doing the show here and learned about that kind of thing. But obviously, this stuff works pretty well, and obviously there's no danger to the drinking water.
No, there's no problem with it. They've been doing it for years, and I know it sounds fun being on the boat every day, but come June, it's not that fun. It's pretty hot.
It sounds like fun being on a boat every day. It's like to be in a nasty old air-conditioned office all day.
You can come out and come on the boat anytime.
So how did you train for this? How did you develop an expertise in this?
Knowing about boats, basically, and they kind of pick you.
Really?
Everybody has to do it, and some of us just have to do it more than others.
Now, one of his most important jobs is, Jack, this is critical, is he's on the team that turns the river green for the mayor's River of Green.
These days.
The more important job.
The much more important job as far as this mayor is concerned.
Yes.
Forget the amoebes or whatever those things were. We're talking about serious green dye.
Yeah, Green River fun.
Now, hadn't that been a lot of fun?
It has been good. And actually, the turnout, every year is getting bigger and bigger. I'm looking forward. We actually have a new boat for this year. So we'll look a little more sporty.
Well, I remember, I've seen that in Chicago. I've been up there in Chicago when they do it, and I guess maybe they were the first city in the country to do it. And when you said you're going to do it here, I thought, now that's going to be cool, and indeed it was. It is. What do you use? How did you learn to do that? Did you talk to people up there or
Chicago was not helpful at all.
They were.
Actually, they were not cool about it one
jealous.
bit.
Well, you remember, they were going to make us hire the plumbers union.
They wanted to charge us.
That controls the formula for the dye and fly them down here. I said, I got Metcalf. I don't need the plumbers.
We can figure it out. That's
no stinking plumbers.
It took a little research and a lot of YouTube watching, but we figured out what they were using, and it's turned out well.
It's better than well.
It is.
Our river's so much greener than their river.
Yeah.
And it leaves them green with envy.
Absolutely.
That's the reason they
Yeah.
didn't want to help at all.
So how do you do it? In case people have concerns about the environmental
It's
things.
actually plumber's leak dye is all it is.
A plumber's leak dye.
They use it in like big high-rise buildings to check for your plumbing leaks for coming down the pipes all the way down. And
Okay.
it comes out orange. It looks like an orange Cheeto color, but when it hits the water, it turns bright green, and you can see the leaks if you had actual plumbing leaks. Like, that's what it's for, and it's all biodegradable, natural, doesn't hurt anything. Manatees turn green for a little while, but
We're going to have to cut that portion of it. Do not put that in there. There's no green manatees. It's all good.
it doesn't turn them green. You can see them a lot better when they're swimming because of all the green powder.
Okay.
That's good.
Thank you for sinking my environmental credentials.
No,
right there
no,
on
it's
the spot.
okay. You're going green. You're going,
going green. Yeah, literally
Being green is good.
Stay with us. We're going to get out on the river. It's going to be an amazing trip.
Oh,
Did you bring your fishing pole?
No, I need to. I need to find one.
I hear
around
there's
here.
some snook laying right up there by the dam.
I've heard that. I've heard that.
All right, we'll be right back. And now we're actually on the river.
Oh, this is beautiful.
Did you
out
bring your
here.
water wings?
I forgot them, doggone it. We're in trouble if we go off this boat.
I'm going to have to rescue you, Jack. Which will not. Well, we'll do it for TV. That would be great.
That would be incredible. We've got a YouTube video ready made.
Well, we're on the river now with one of the water department boats. We just left Mark Metcalf, and he sort of gave us a feel for what the technicians do here. Joining us right now is Phil Compton, who has been a long-time member of the Friends of the Hillsborough River, a group that advocates on behalf of the Hillsborough River. They've been doing this for a long time. They are passionate about the health of this river and everything that goes along with it. And Phil, thanks for joining Jack and I. It's good to have you here.
Thank you, Mayor. It's wonderful to be out here. It's always a great day to be on our Hillsborough River, huh?
Oh, it really is. Now, tell me exactly what the Friends do.
Well, Friends was started back 15 years ago by some folks who live near and on the river to advocate for restoring the health and beauty of the Hillsborough River. We kind of took it for granted that our city is on a beautiful river, and there are some things that we could do to make it healthier. We've been restoring the shoreline here. The city's done a great job with swift mud. We've been capturing the nutrient flow better with the new fertilizer ordinance that's in place. The big thing is that for 35 years, the river didn't get any fresh water most of the year, and now we're starting the 7th year of the city restoring a minimal flow of fresh water, which is so important for the life of Tampa Bay.
Yeah, tell us why that is important to the river.
Well, a freshwater estuary that we have here below the dam on the Hillsborough River is where life begins. So the fish that live in Tampa Bay and downriver and downtown in that area will come up for the fresher water. So the water gets gradually saltier as it goes down into the bay, and that's where life begins.
And so for freshwater species, that intrusion of salt water coming from the bay up the river is death?
Yes, absolutely. We only had one type of saltwater zone. It was all the same, all the way up from Tampa, from the city up to the dam. Now you have several different levels, so different fish can find what they need. And the fish that live out in Tampa Bay will come up here. Also, the snook we were talking about, you see that below the dam now.
Huge snook,
Yeah.
monster snook.
Why are the
Don't
snooks
tell
here?
anybody, Jack.
Yeah, but why are they here? The anchovies, the bay anchovy, needs fresh water to reproduce, to spawn. So there's something for the snook to eat. There's something for the porpoises to eat. Dolphins come up here. You see all kinds of fish come up here.
So on this portion of the river, we are above the dam right now. So this is purely a freshwater environment.
It is, but in the summertime, the water flows over in abundance over the dam during the rainy season. And now the fish that go over the dam with that fresh water in the summertime, they live all year round. They make it all year long, so they can survive all year long. So you have everything that's in this part of the river all the way down into the lower river through the city.
To the bay,
Yes.
all the way down to the bay. So many people, people just haven't seen this part of the river. Most people never come here. They never are familiar with where the river, maybe they'll see it next to Lowry Park Zoo. They see it downtown, and that's pretty much it. They cross it from time to time, depending on where they live, perhaps on the way home or to work, but they just aren't familiar with this whole river. Where does this ultimately go? We know it ends at the bay. But where does it emanate?
Well, it begins up in Polk County and the Green Swamp, and up in Pasco County at Crystal Springs, where Zephyr Hills takes their water from. And then it flows together at Hillsborough River State Park, and it goes all the way through the northeast part of the county. And so it goes through Temple Terrace, and then it comes here, and now we're in the city of Tampa, and we're right over the reservoir. This is where our drinking water is, right here. And if you look around, you see that this shoreline is quite natural. This is a very beautiful natural place. So you have the natural filtration going on here. So even though you're in the middle of a city, the water that we're drinking gets treated very nicely by the natural shoreline.
And Rogers Park is also up around the bend here?
Rogers Park is downriver there on the
Downriver,
golf
okay.
course. And one good thing is that, golf courses use fertilizer and pesticides and stuff. They're going to be installing some filtration ponds there very soon that's going to further protect the river from the impact of the golf course being there. So the river's going to be healthier than it's ever been.
But if people go in the other direction, away from downtown, can you boat all the way up the river, all the way up into Polk County or Pasco County from
Absolutely. You could go all the way up through Temple Terrace and up into the USF area, Fowler Avenue, and up into the Swift Mudlands, which is wild. You can canoe up there at Sargent Park on 301 and rent a canoe and take a ride, and you would think you're in anywhere. It's a tropical jungle. It's fantastic.
So, Phil, we're north of the dam now. We're above the dam.
Yes.
So if you put a canoe in here, a power boat, it gets pretty shallow up there, particularly in the summertime, right? But a canoe, you could go from here to where?
You could go to Pasco County. You could go to Polk County.
Wow.
You could go all the way to Hillsborough River State Park, and for miles and miles, about 39 miles.
And again, this is our drinking water.
This is our drinking
it's
water.
naturally filtrated. It's
That's
taking
right.
filtered, I should say.
And the city's done a good job of preserving these lands, not developing this land, because this is what you have to have pure water here in the city, which we have.
And do you see a lot of folks up here water skiing or tubing or anything?
Yeah, you sure do, all the way through Temple Terrace. Now, one thing about this river is it's not easy to see it. 40th Street Bridge, which the city's done a great job of restoring, and it's protecting, the bridge itself is protecting the water's quality better than it used to. But from 40th or 56th Street, you'll see skiers through here. You'll see all kinds of boaters. You'll see kayaks, canoes, which are very popular.
Now, for the unwashed masses, of which I am one, explain what an estuary is.
An estuary is the most fertile place on Earth. It's where life begins for the oceans, the seas, the Gulf of Mexico, Tampa Bay. So when you have fresh water flowing down a river and it gradually mixes with the salt water coming in from the bay, that's where you have all the different types of habitat that fish need to spawn. So the fish come upriver, they spawn, they lay their eggs, the baby fish grow up, and they're protected from the predators, and then they can go downriver and live their lives in downtown, out in the Gulf of Mexico.
Or until the fishermen get them.
Or until the fishermen get them, but that's
other natural predators.
But without the estuary, there's no fish. And for 35 years, we didn't do a good job of maintaining that estuary, but the last 7 years now, it's come back. You just add a little water, and you get all the life back in Tampa Bay.
And we're one of the few jurisdictions that doesn't have to drill to provide water.
We're very special here.
Yeah.
We happen to have a river going through us. Actually, this is why there is a place called Tampa, because there's a river here, and people thought this was a great place to live. The Indians were here thousands of years ago, and now we're here.
Yeah, there's a story that, and I guess this, as you say, goes all the way to Zephyr Hills, but Hernando de Soto's group, when they were moving north up through Florida, ironically, up in the Zephyr Hills area, many of them died of dehydration. They didn't know there was any water around there at that point. And now, of course, Zephyr Hills is known for water all over the country. Little digression there. I thought I'd throw that in.
Jack, it really is amazing as we, travel this river, how big it is. And you're right. I would venture to guess that most of our citizens really don't know that this exists and the magnitude of the river.
Yeah, the size of this, where we're looking now from in that direction and back this way toward the dam and everything, this is a huge area, because we tend to think of the river as what we see downtown and what you're crossing the bridge on Kennedy or maybe Columbus Drive or something like that.
And these lands are owned by the city, the Blackwater Hammock, the
That's
Green
right,
Water
yeah.
Tract.
I remember when we bought that, I was on city council, that Blackwater Hammock.
And, what's its value to having this land? Couldn't you put houses there, and wouldn't that be a great place to live? But you're protecting the drinking water supply.
He
of
ought
the
not to
entire city.
suggest that to me, because you know how I like to build things.
Might have condos along here pretty soon.
Don't worry, Phil. I won't do it to you, brother. I'll keep it downtown.
Right.
That's the other thing. When you say natural, and we see this green stuff, we've gone through it to get out here, and you see it all along the shoreline, all the way around.
Right.
Now, what is that specifically, that leafy-looking vegetation?
It's hydrilla, and we get a lot of it in here. And Temple Terrace, you'll see sometimes has quite a bit of it covering the river.
I've seen
And
that.
they do some things to maintain so that you can get a boat through. But that's something that will float down the river, and the manatees eat it. So, in fact, Lowry Park zoo comes up and loads up truckloads of
Yeah,
it
yeah.
at the water treatment plant and takes it down and feeds their manatees in the zoo.
We let them come harvest it, and then they take it to the manatees and they feed it to them.
You don't charge them anything, do you?
I don't think so. If we do, it's negligible.
Manatee salad bar.
Yeah.
Hey, you're giving them another idea. Yeah, the manatee love that stuff.
Right.
I've seen them being fed that over at the power plant over there.
In the summertime, do the hydrillas take over this reservoir?
They get pretty thick in here, and the city does some things that are innocuous to the water quality, but they do protect keep the hydrilla level manageable.
How deep do you think this is? Would you guess?
Gosh, I'm going to say it's about 20 feet deep at this point.
20 feet. I bet that would be fascinating to see what's under here, the kind of marine life that would be under here.
Right. Well, you'll see, and it's pretty clear this time in the winter. You could see all kinds of bass and different fish here. And like I said, those bass that go over the river in the summertime, they make it all year round now because it's fresh enough
Wow,
for them
that's great.
to survive.
Yeah, I can remember there were some challenging times during the drought when the flow over the dam was negligible. And
Oh, boy.
really,
Yeah.
really
That-
problematic for the lower Hillsborough because the oxygen content diminishes.
And that's
significantly.
another thing that the minimum flow's
Yeah.
done. Yeah, our water is naturally low in oxygen because it's so warm, and so the water coming down, the water department's flume that takes Sulphur Springs water and water from the dam here, aerates it,
Yeah.
so it puts oxygen in it.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, this would suffer mightily as a result of drought. I mean, with no replenishment of the water here, and of course all the way up the Green Swamp.
Yeah, there are times when there's no flow over the dam just because, during severe drought conditions, it's just the table just drops so much that
Yeah,
it's
it's
very,
kinda
very
like
difficult.
now.
Yeah.
And that's why Swift Mud and your predecessor, Mayor Arroyo, figured out a way of taking water from the bypass canal that comes up there, and that goes into this river at Harney Canal, and then 3/4 of that is released in those dry months to maintain that little bit of flow, to keep life going, because the fish happen to spawn in the spring when it's the driest time of the year.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll ever get to a point where we will take reclaimed water and pump it back up into the aquifer and drive it down?
I don't know. That's expensive, and you'd need to make sure that you weren't putting anything in here, that you were removing all of the hormones that could turn boy fish into girl fish.
Yeah.
Might do
Of course
more harm than good.
Yeah, of course they can do it now where you can drink it and everything
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
I would think if you can drink it, you can go on and put it in there. What is the relationship between the river and the canal?
Well, the canal was dug by the Corps of Engineers back in the 60s, and that idea was so that when we did have a hurricane, a big flood event, that you wouldn't flood Tampa and Temple Terrace. And so there are times when they open it up and the water is released to relieve the water level here when it would be too much for the dam to handle. But the canal cut into the aquifer when they dug it. They dug it too deep. So it's actually bringing up water from the aquifer into the canal. So it's another source of water.
Yeah, but we haven't had flooding that I remember, any bad flooding. I guess maybe some people along here, and I know they have that problem in other rivers, Alafai and
Yeah.
a few of those. Is that because of that canal?
That's because we engineered a solution. Brad's going to tell you about it, but back in 1933 we had a hurricane and it blew out the dam because the water was so great here. We don't want that to happen again.
Well,
Yeah.
you can also see that some of our parks are along the river. This is a park up in North Tampa that borders the river.
Right, this is the Temple Crest neighborhood. This was originally part of the Beatrice Potter Palmer property that started this area and Temple Terrace. That's the same Palmer family that was ranching down in Sarasota County
yeah, the Palmer
and the
Ranch,
Palmer
yeah.
House in Chicago.
Wow.
Yeah, the
They
Palmer
had some
House.
money, and this was 100 years ago. They developed this area and started Temple Terrace.
Wow. You can see we did a Kaboom playground build right up there on that
Right.
site a couple months ago.
Look at that.
Yeah, I saw the pictures. That it's hard to for me to fathom where we are here in relation. I mean, we're approaching Temple Terrace, I think, and
And 40th Street would be up here as we continued
Right.
up around the bend.
yeah.
And for those of you who know Busch Gardens, it's right over there.
Yeah.
We're really close to Busch
right
Gardens.
back that way.
Yeah.
You can
Or
see-
there it is. You see parts of Busch Gardens back over here. Yeah, I'm lost. Totally lost.
You're in
now.
Tampa.
We came. I'm in Tampa. Okay, it's good to know I'm still in Tampa. Now, I see a lot of the greenery out there in the middle right now, which seems kind of unusual. Is that a little island or what is that?
That's the hydrilla.
Hydrilla.
Yeah, but I mean, why is it out in the middle and not clinging to the shoreline like the rest of it is?
Probably the wind blew it out there. We've had some, and the shape of the river itself, right?
Because we're at a bend in it now, a big bend in the river as we speak.
Yeah, there's some, as we come up the river heading towards the 40th Street Bridge on the right-hand side, there's some prominent Tampa families that live there. Perry Harvey used to live on River Grove Drive. The Andrews family, who owns the Florida
Right.
Sentinel Bulletin.
Yeah.
It was at one point in the African-American community, largely the upper class and upper middle class that
That's
lived
right.
along River Grove Drive. And so Warren Dawson, I mean, there are a number of
Warren
names.
Dawson, I've been to his house. Yeah.
Number of names that you would recognize. Abe Brown's family lives on River Grove Drive, so it's a nice street.
Yeah, you have a boat parade on the river. Now, tell us about that.
Yeah, Friends of the River for the last 14 years, ever since we got started, we sponsored a holiday boat parade on the river. We start at Lowry Park Boat Ramp, and we go upriver to Sulphur Springs. And for the last several years, the Sulphur Springs Neighborhood Association, the Action League, has partnered with us. They have a great party at the Sulphur Springs Pool Park up on the bank. They give out hot chocolate and popcorn to everyone from the neighborhood, and we have all the boats come up river from Lowry Park to Sulphur Springs. This year we had 30 paddlers, kayaks, canoes, paddle boards. This is the boat parade for everybody and anybody, anything that floats. And we also have a lot of motor boats. So next year, the 15th annual boat parade is going to be on Sunday, December the 7th. We do it on a day when the tide is high enough for people to put in, because the tide can be low
We used
down
to
there.
have bathtub races off
Yeah.
near Lowry Park Zoo, off that
Is that
on the
during
river
your
back there.
Q105 days?
No, that was before that. That was 970 WFLA days back in the 70s when.
I remember some of those races that people would put together the darndest things and get on the river and
Yeah,
practically drowned.
We had a
Yeah.
couple of unfortunate accidents. I
Those
think
were
that's the reason
alcohol
we
related.
quit it.
There's a difference between a race and a parade. We tell people,
Oh, yeah.
slow down. There's no prize for getting there first, and it's a very safe family event. LED lights really make a difference nowadays, and so it's a wonderful thing. It's a celebration of the fact that here in Tampa, we have a river running through the middle of our city, and that's a fantastic thing.
Well, talk to us about the lower Hillsborough. Talk to us
Right.
about what's going on there, the health of the river, the types of development that you're seeing. What's going on?
Well, the city did a wonderful thing several years ago by asking people not to put fertilizer on their lawns in the summertime. And that is keeping the river healthier. We already see the benefits of that, because if you put fertilizer on your lawn in July, it's going to wash off, and that's not why you went to the store. So we don't see algae blooms the way we used to. The river's getting healthier. Swiftmud and the city have been restoring shoreline from Blake High School up to Ricks on the River. That part of the shoreline has been made more natural. And we have the minimum flow, so there are more fish, greater diversity, variety of fish, and more of them. And so the fish have a place to hide. The little fish have a place to hide out with the natural shoreline instead of just the hardened shoreline. Once upon a time, people wrote off the lower river and said, forget about it, it's dead, you can't do anything about it. But a river's not like a forest. You cut down a forest, it takes 200 years to get back. A river, you put a little bit of water into it, give it the water it needs every day, and it comes back, and it really has. So it's healthier and happier. And now with the Riverwalk coming along here, and just by the end of this year, we're
Thanksgiving.
going to be able to walk along a river that's healthier and more beautiful, full of more life than it has been in a long, long time.
Yeah, that's one thing. We're now finally taking advantage of this incredible natural resource that our city has that most cities don't have, and that is a river that runs right through the middle of it like we have.
That's right. We kind of took it for granted.
Yeah.
But,
What's interesting? These there's like 5 or 6 little houses along here, which is on the backside of Rogers Park Golf Course. I think I have my geography correct here, because the plant's right over there, right? The water plant.
I think it's back around the bend. But I could
Right
be-
there, yeah. The
Okay,
plant's
good,
right
good.
there. That's just a little dead-end street that if you come down the road between the plant and Rogers Park golf courses, there's these 5, 6 houses that have been here for years. I mean,
Right.
what a view. I mean, look at this.
Oh, I
You're
know.
tucked away. I mean, you have your own vacation house back here on the river.
This is like your own Bayshore Boulevard.
In fact, Mayor, I've got neighbor who is now in the business, he's got half a dozen houses on the river, and they rent them to tourists who come from all over the world.
Wow.
And they have found a fantastic niche market. People come here, they're like, we're halfway between the best beaches in America, the world's #1 tourist destination, and you have this fantastic river that you can stay on. People love it.
Well, that's the amazing thing about the Bay Area, the fact that we have obviously the Gulf of Mexico and the beaches, but then we've got the Bay itself, and Hillsborough Bay and McKay Bay and Tampa Bay, and then we've got this fantastic river coming right out into the middle of that. And
Right.
I don't know of any city that has quite all of that. I mean, it just really is such an incredible thing.
And all the cities and counties have done so much to restore the health of the bay itself. Now we have seagrass that's been planted that's finally growing and is covering the entire bay itself. So you have fish everywhere. That's what the fish need, and it's all coming back.
Yeah, that's important, Phil. Tell us why the seagrass that's planted in the bay and in the river, what does that do for the young fish?
Well, it provides shelter and it provides food. It provides a place for the mollusk. If you looked at the bottom of the river here, you're going to see a lot of little tiny seashells. There are freshwater mollusks here, and a lot of birds eat those. The ibis, the egrets, the herons, and also the fish need shelter from the bigger fish because there's a game going on here. The big guys are trying to catch the little guys all day long. And you have that now happening out in the bay and in the river itself. And with the nitrogen levels going down in Tampa Bay and in the river, you have more light going through. So it's like any kind of a plant. It needs light to grow, and now it is growing. Now it's coming back to life.
A lot of gators out here?
All the time. And don't feed a gator, please, ever.
They are not pets.
They're not pets. They're not to be fed. They don't know the difference between you and a piece of chicken if you give it to them.
And your small dog.
Right. That's true.
So do you see a lot of gators? I would imagine up here you probably see a lot more than you do in the lower Hillsborough.
We have them in the lower Hillsborough River too, yeah, absolutely. And they're territorial. You have a neighborhood gator. And if you, again, don't feed them, then that can be a nice part of your neighborhood menagerie, along with your cats and birds and dogs and all that. But they move around in May, in the springtime, looking for another gator. And sometimes they look for love in the wrong places and get
Jack
get
and
in
I have
trouble.
been guilty of that a time or two in our lives. But we're not going to talk about that.
No, definitely not.
Well, at least they didn't catch you.
Because we're both happily married guys now. So
We certainly are that. But I tell you, if to explore it, if you get a chance to explore the river, obviously it's best on the river. But even we've at times gone down on streets as close to the river as you can get, all the way down as far as you can go down to Sly and further, and then up around Temple Terrace. Beautiful part of the river up past Temple Terrace and running up that way to Hillsborough State Park.
And, people really are more and more enjoying this river in all kinds of craft. You don't have to be a rich guy to have a yacht. You can have a kayak or a paddle boat or a canoe, and people are out all the time. I've lived on the river for 20 years, and I see more and more people out there exercising and enjoying life in Tampa.
The best thing to do is have a good friend.
Absolutely.
Who has
With a boat.
Yeah.
All right. We'll be right back. Phil Compton, thanks for all
Thank you,
your
Mayor.
years of advocacy for this river. It's a better place because of it. Stay with us. We'll be right back. We got some great stuff coming up, including some big snook.
Oh, big snook.
The Stewards Foundation's mission is to use the sport of rowing as a vehicle to teach teamwork and responsibility to young people. What I like about the sport of rowing, and I think what most people that have participated in the sport of rowing will tell you, it's all about teamwork. And there's no stars, there's no substitutions, there's no timeouts. The boat is only as fast as the weakest link, not the strongest link. And so there's a tremendous amount of camaraderie and teamwork with any individual, male or female, that happen to participate in the sport of rowing. And it's about the river. We have, over 20 miles of uninterrupted water. All the great cities in the United States that have rivers flowing through their downtown have rowing programs. You think about Boston, you think about Philadelphia, you think about the Potomac, and it kind of goes on and on and on. And most people don't get to see their rivers that goes through the downtown. They're riding across bridges. They're wandering around in a downtown, but to see the beauty of this Hillsborough River, up close and personal, it doesn't get any better than that. A 2,000-meter race is like playing a couple basketball games back to back. In a 2,000-meter race, which is equivalent of a, kind of a middle distance runner thing, The athletes are getting their heartbeats up to 160, 180 with sprints at the 200 beat level, and it's a very, very grueling sport. Yes, at the competitive level. The opportunities in Tampa for young rowers are pretty amazing. The Stewards Foundation not only has athletes from one particular high school, but any school, for example, that does not have a rowing program can compete and row with the Stewards Foundation. And that includes middle school students. We've got a tremendous program now for middle school students with probably 30 to 40 that row a couple days a week on our middle school program.
I'm the women's team captain for the Stewards Foundation. It means that I have to be a leader for all the people that are on the team, not just the girls, but for everyone, so that I can get people motivated and hopefully make some boats go fast. It's pretty hard sometimes, but I think I do a pretty good job of keeping everyone's spirits up. I'm a really bouncy kind of person naturally, so I think I do pretty well. I never felt like I had teammates in all the other sports that I've done. I've done like swimming, I've done diving, I've done sailing, and I've never felt as close to my teammates as I have in rowing, and I just feel that we all support each other and feed off our motivation, and it feels really good to do well with them. I'm a senior at Robinson High School. I'm in the IB program. It's an international program that accelerates you in both your classes and in life. I think crew does help me. One, it relieves stress. Rigorous programs always going to have stress, but it helps me focus. It keeps me focused and driven on what I want to do and what I want to accomplish. So the view is absolutely amazing. I love coming out here on the river. It's one of my favorite places. And growing up, I never really noticed the river until I started doing rowing. I know it's weird to think because we have the bay right there and the river is always around, but once you get out there, it's honestly a place that's hard to come back from. If you want to have fun, like pure fun, while doing a sport and love the people you're doing it with, I'd say join rowing. It's probably the only sport that you just bond with people so easily.
I love rowing. I started rowing 2 years ago. I'm a homeschooled student. My mother said, "Hey David, would you like to do the sport?" I said, "Sure." I used to play orchestra right across the river, and my mom said, "See those people down there rowing?" I said, "Yeah." So we want to try it out? Okay. So ever since then, I've been rowing for Stewards Foundation. As a homeschooler, it's sometimes difficult to find social applications in life. Rowing is extremely good for building relationships outside of school, especially with the Stewards Foundation because it's a non-profit organization that allows anyone to row on their high school and middle school teams. So I just kind of fit naturally in. There's many different benefits for rowing, but basically the whole body workout is what I like a lot. And coming out to the beautiful Hillsborough River, it's fun every time I do it. Whether I'm going out by myself or in a single, just having fun, not really worried about workouts or power, or whether I'm out here cranking it out with my varsity 8, killing it. I love the river. I love the energy expenditure I have on this river.
Jack, this was a pretty cool show.
Oh, indeed. And, I've been here 43 years, and yet in this show I learned so much. And today, seeing so much of this river that I hadn't seen, and the dam, and I don't even know if I knew the dam was here. I guess I knew the dam was here, but never paid much attention to it. It's phenomenal.
It is, and it's just one of those things that folks just take for granted. When they turn the tap on, that the water's coming out and it's going to be clean. Yep. But to understand how this happens, but in the larger scheme of things, how important the river is to our community and why it makes us different.
It really is the lifeblood of the community. It is just the big artery that goes around and provides life. I mean, between the water and the aquatic animals that we find out here, alligators, birds, and all of these other things, and the estuary, from the estuary down, it's just an incredible thing for the sportsmen and everything else.
Yeah, it really is. And, we spend a lot of time focusing on the river downtown, But when you come upriver and realize what a beautiful natural environment this is, you get away. It's hard to imagine you're 5 minutes away from a major city when you're up here on the water and it's quiet and you see the animals. I mean, it really is.
The
really is neat.
serenity is unbelievable up there on that river, and most people again aren't aware of this part of it. They cross it on a bridge. They know it downtown at Curtis Dixon Park or something like that, where it goes out into the bay. But that's pretty much it. But what a fabulous resource this is, and we're beginning to take advantage of it more. By the way, speaking of that, the River Walk, I've been working with Steve Anderson and Judy Lisi, and we're looking at, of course, we've been honoring our some of the people that helped shape Tampa and the Tampa Bay area with the busts that are along the walkway. We're also working on something else. It's going to be more of a pop culture thing, but it's going to be a walk of fame. And this will be to the north of Curtis Dixon Park, somewhere out along where the Straz is, on the Riverwalk ultimately when it's fully developed. And it would be stars that would contain the names of people who are famous from Tampa. Everybody from George Steinbrenner to
Jack Harris.
I don't think I'm going to make that one. But people who are known all over the country. It could be Channing Tatum. It could be Lauren Hutton, who was here. Angela Bassett.
Sure. Joe Torre, who just got put in the Hall of Fame for baseball.
Yeah, and athletes who have made the Hall of Fame, like Wade Boggs or Leroy Selman. But that'll be a lot of fun putting that down, and people will go to see it. I got the idea of that from St. Louis out in the Loop area, which is kind of like their Channel Side or whatever. They have a Walk of Fame out there with Lindbergh and Musial and some of the movie stars and everything. I think it's going to be a great addition to the Riverwalk.
Well, part of a successful waterfront is giving people a reason to come and to come back.
Yeah.
You just don't want a sterile environment for them to walk on. If you can tell the story of Tampa, whether it's in the busts or whether it's in something like this or whether it's in the sculptures or whatever it may be, it gives people a reason to come back and to enjoy the experience and to learn something along the way.
Oh, yeah. And Riverwalk is just growing and growing, and more people getting to know it and things happening on it. Coat and Shelby Park along there particularly. And speaking of people coming here, you have made a trip now to Panama on the new Copa Airlines.
Jack, we took the inaugural flight. It was in mid-December. That's going to be a big deal for us. It took us 2 years to attract Copa Airlines and to help them make that decision to do 4 flights per week out of TIA. They've even had to expand the first aircraft because the demand was so high. But that will give us a gateway to Central and South America. Copa is the dominant airline in Central and South America. As we start to tell Tampa's story to the world and become the gateway to the Americas, Copa is going to be the vehicle by which we do it. It is a big, big deal for us.
Yeah, and that's the good thing. After the thing was announced already, it's filling up like crazy, and they even added an airline or added a flight, and that's going to be big. I mean, us going down there, obviously, but even bigger, them coming up here. And
we're both tourists and business.
Yeah.
When we were in Brazil 2 months ago, there were 6 daily direct flights from Panama to 6 cities in Brazil. So it really is the conduit for all of Central and South America. And as you know, we're spending a lot of time trying to recruit businesses to come here and recruit the tourism industry. And Copa Airlines will be the way by which we do that.
Well, that is fantastic. Well, next show, we got to be getting ready for Bollywood, too. So
Bollywood, Gasparilla, it's going to be one big party season.
Oh, you betcha.
Well, thanks for joining us again for another Mayor's Hour. Jack, as always, thank you. This is fun. We got to be outdoors and enjoying a beautiful, beautiful Tampa day. Stay with us. We'll be back next month, and we'll see you soon.